Hello, Vanessa Webb, Stampin' Up Demonstrator Australia here. Today we're playing with the Two Toned Flora Bundle, which is a set of two-step stamps as well as matching dies. Now in the die set, there is also this gorgeous all over design which you could use as a background or on a card or a template for maybe your blending brushes. So yeah, it contains that really gorgeous, very detailed panel, as well as individual flower shapes and leaf shapes which cut out around the two-tone flora images in the stamp set. So it comes from our current mini catalogue and it's on page 15 if you're looking for it in the current catalogue. So today I'm going to be creating a thank you card and let me just make some space here. I've got my stamps all ready to go, but I'm starting off with a card base which opens out like that. So I've cut my A4 sheet in half lengthways and that's out of Daffodil Delight. I've also got some very vanilla. This is actually going to form part of my card, but I'm stamping my images onto Whisper White, and that's just so they stand out a little bit. Basic White will stand out a little bit more against the very vanilla background, and I'm going to be creating a really cool effect with an inlaid embossing technique, so I will be showing you that in a second as well. All right, so let's get down to the stamping, and with all the stamps in this set there is actually an underlay and an overlay. So I am stamping the underlay in Petal Pink for my pink flower, and then the overlay I'm flipping it over, and that's the detailed stamp that will go over the top of this in Polished Pink. So there you go, it sort of really pops off the Basic White after you've done that. Here is Highland Heather for my smaller flower. I'm gonna stamp two of these ones in Highland Heather. That one didn't come out as well as I wanted it to. There we go, that's better. And again, with the darker color I'm using Gorgeous Grape, which is, yeah, a darker purple color, and that will enable those flowers to just kind of pop off the page. And for my yellow flowers, I've got some yellow flowers that I'm going to include on the card. I've got the Daffodil Delight as my background, and then the overlay is this stamp, which will be in the Crushed Curry. So let me just stamp those so that you can see how they turn out. Now, if I wanted to, I could have used my Stamparatus. I find it easy to stamp these stamps just as they are without having my stamp positioner, but you could definitely use the Stamparatus. Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to bring in Soft Succulent now for the leaf stamp, which I'll also be using. There is a spray of leaves, but there's also the jewel leaf stamp, which is the one that I'm using for this card. And I'm going to stamp 3 of these because there is actually a die that you can use to cut them out. And I will bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I will pop those dies on the platform. Okay, so if I shoot this one through to that side, you guys hopefully will be able to see as I put my dies in the correct spot. So you can cut a couple of these out at once, which is kind of good because it makes it a whole lot quicker to put your card together. If that is, there we go, that's the way around it goes. Okay, so there's those two, and then my yellow, I'm going to just pop there as well. And here are my leaves. I love that all of the dies in this set actually match the flower images. So you can either stamp your flower images straight down, or you can, you can stamp them onto a basic white, which is what I'm doing, and cut them out using the dies. It's super quick and easy, and also very accurate. With our new dies too, you'll notice that there is a little ridge that appears around the outline of your stamps, and that also helps them to stand out. We're going to be doing something a little bit extra with our card today, and the card itself is actually, the stamps will actually be embossed, inlaid, embossed into into the very vanilla card. And if you haven't tried this technique before, it is a really fun technique, and it allows you to use a little bit less adhesive as well, because the embossing kind of keeps everything together. And I will show you what I mean. So I'm just cutting out two more of these flowers, and my leaf, my leaf actually moved a little bit. So what I'm going to do is, that was my one of my dies that just rolled all the way to the very end, which I'll get in a second. You can hear them when they roll on my tiled floor in my craft room. So yeah, my little leaf die just moved slightly, so I'm going to put that back in position. So I need 3 of these leaves, and here we go, there's number 2, and number 3, the last one is here. Okay, so although it takes a little bit of time to line up all those 3 leaves, I still think it's quicker and better than cutting them out by hand. And as I said, if you're just applying these without my technique that I'm using, you will have a little ridge around them, so they will stand out against your project just that little bit more. Okay, so that is all that we need. I'll pop that to the side for a second. I will be bringing it back in though. All right, so let's decorate our panel. So I have the basic, so the very vanilla piece of cardstock, and everything is going to be stamped on there. I've got a greeting, which comes from one of our other stamp sets. It's actually one of the ones that came out last year during the end of the year, and it is now carried over into our new catalogue. And I really liked the thank you with all my heart greeting. I'm going to stamp that in Gorgeous Grape because I want it to really stand out against the background, and I'm going to stamp it to the right hand side and just down a little bit from that top edge, so that my flowers are now going to be placed here and here. So what I like to do is, when I am placing my flowers on, I like to just lay them on without any adhesive at first, so that I get a feel for where I want them to go. And I can definitely position them so that they're not overlapping any of those words in my greeting. So that's looking pretty good. I like that look. And then down the bottom right hand side, I've got one of the yellow flowers and some more leaves, and then another of the purple one. And I'm going to tuck that just behind so it's not taking up too much real estate. So when you have placed your die cut flowers, now you can come in with some glue, and you can just apply the glue very sparingly on the back. So I like to kind of capture what's underneath with the bit that I have adhered to the top. So that pink flower is now adhering both of those smaller flowers, the yellow one and the gorgeous grape one, and just a little bit more adhesive underneath underneath my leaves is all I need. There we go. And here is the bottom right hand side, and again I'm going to apply the glue all over the back of my yellow flower, and that's going to in turn capture those two. So that is pretty much, I think that's enough adhesive to hold those little flowers down. And now we come to our special technique. So there are some new embossing folders which you would have seen in the online exclusives, and they have some nice sort of fairly general patterns, and one of them is this cross hatch pattern, which I just love. I thought it just it applies a little bit of texture without being too overpowering. And what I'm going to do is place the whole of my very vanilla piece in there, and then I'm going to grab the adapter, which is for our 3D embossing folders, and I'm going to run that through. And that's kind of just pressed everything down, but look at what it does. It just creates this really cool look. So can you see how the flowers are now nicely pressed into the background? You can still see them though, because they are stamped on the basic white. The basic white against the very vanilla is a really nice technique. In a second, I'm going to show you the inspiration behind this card. It's actually from a perfume bottle that I received a couple of weeks ago. And it was the perfume bottle box that I got this idea from. All right, so now I want to use another die from the Penned Flowers dies, and I'm going to switch out my plates. And I just want 2 scallop edges to use on my card so that the very vanilla piece stands out even more from the background. The background, of course, is the yellow, the Daffodil Delight. Okay, so I'm going to pop that plate there. And my scallop edge is actually from the Penned Flowers dies. I really love this little scallop edge because not only is it a scallop, but it's also a stitched scallop. So it puts a really nice lot of detail onto a card. And you can basically hide the raw edge of it behind your card, which means that that you're not you're not having to cut it straight necessarily. So I'm going to cut one from this side and then one from the other side. I'll just come in around this way. And as I said, I won't need to cut it straight. All I will need to grab is some scissors and just cut along that raw edge, just to make it a bit smaller and fit behind my very vanilla panel, which I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so there's my other edge. And here's my scissors, and all I'm going to do is just very roughly chop all the way along there, and then all the way along there. I really love these panels because of the stitching. I think that adds quite a lovely detail to your projects when you're using dies with stitching. All right, so there's my 2 edges. Now to apply those, I'm just going to use a tiny bit of my Tombow glue. And you'll see once I apply them, because I've cut this gorgeous grape cardstock to the length of my very vanilla piece, you won't see any more of that gorgeous grape than I want you to. Just make sure you put the stitching facing upwards so that it is yeah, it's visible from the right side. Okay, and I'll just tidy that up a little bit. Looking pretty good. All right, so on the back of this piece, now that I've got the two edges there, I'm going to grab some dimensionals and I'm going to put about 6 or 7 of them just on the back, so that this is supported really well, because I want it to be sort of sitting up off the card a little bit. So how many have I got there? I've got 9. There you go. Don't be afraid of using more dimensionals, because there's always more where they came from, and it's just nice to have a card that is not sagging in the middle. So yeah, this one definitely won't be sagging, and this allows me to place it straight onto the Daffodil Delight, right way round, of course. Card base, there we go. How's that looking? That's looking pretty good. I love the purple and the yellow together. I think that is such a nice combination. Alrighty, so to finish off, I have some dots, which I have sitting here. There you go. And I'm just going to use a couple of those. These, can't remember what they're called, but they're from the annual catalogue, and I think that just kind of finishes that card off really nicely. Here's my original card, which is pretty much exactly the same as the one I just made for you. Let me bring in some others, because I'm going to include these in a blog post. This is the first time I've really played with this set. So my inlaid embossing technique, I also made some extra cards, and I've used that lovely panel that I pointed out to you around with that one. That's just Petal Pink on Daffodil Delight. I really like the warm background that provides. This is just a whole card panel. Again, the inlaid embossing, which works really well. I've used that on Highland Heather background, and stamped in the polished pink, which picks up some of the colours in the flowers. And here's a lovely bright one, again using the polished pink, the Highland Heather, and I've just inlaid, embossed this circle, and I've applied some of the gorgeous grape embellishments, the polished dots I think they're called, on there. And my greeting for this one's on the inside, and it says, "So very happy for you." Let me bring in my gorgeous perfume bottle. Here it is. I got given some perfume the other week, and I particularly liked, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a little bit of texture on there. There's very vanilla. The roses are actually printed on white. There's white coming through there. They are a little bit glossy as well, but I just loved that contrast. And it looks like that the whole thing has been run through with an embossing folder, if you like. I know it's probably done by machine in a factory, but hey, that's okay. We can recreate similar things with our materials. I loved how this also included some gold foil in the design. So yes, you could even do some gold embossing or gold leaf embellishment. But that's where I got my inspiration from for this inlaid embossing technique. And I was really happy with the way these turned out. So look, I hope you give this one a go. Don't forget there are some brand new products in the online store, in the online exclusives, and they will include these embossing folders. It's a trio of embossing folders, and you can have a lot of fun. I think the embossing folders in the brand new collection really lend themselves to this technique, because they're a fairly simple all over pattern. And this crosshatch one was one that definitely caught my eye. Thank you so much for watching. All the details for this video will be down the bottom of the video once I've uploaded it to YouTube. And I hope I've inspired you to make some inlaid embossing cards of your own. Thanks for watching. Bye.